You may be already familiar with this frequency separation techniques. If not, we're going to look a little bit closer and see how does it work. So right here we have an image, and will you notice right this area we have it kind of changing contrast between for example balloon, the overall shape, and other ones. However, if we get closer to some areas, for example right here with the skin, you can see as the skin going we have it more change of this contrast area, so we have it more between darker and lighter areas. So in this case what we refer when a low frequency, it's overall a bigger shape change in contrast area, and when we refer to high frequency we refer to more faster change, like for example this hair area or a skin area. It does help if you want to look when we switch to black and white. You can see more when we remove the all colors. You can see we have it now light area, dark area, light area, dark area. Again, if we come closer to the hair, you can see it's changing quite a bit, often contrast areas between those each hair piece. So in this case, we can take them and separate that frequencies on separate layers and use them after to manipulate on the general larger shapes or skins. As retouching, we can do a lot of stuff with this. So for example, we can go remove some skin properties or maybe even hair, but we still preserve all of this texture of the skin that reside below. So it's given us more flexibility on what we're doing. The one way to actually remove high frequency from image is by using image blur. So in this case, we actually remove all these details from the skin. And next, by using apply image, we can go ahead and subtract some of this information or add and separate this way. So in some cases, we will create one layer where we will have it our blur without details. We'll have it another layer where we have it higher quality or of higher frequency, for example right here piece of skin where we can separate this, and we will create this two layers for this example where we have it low frequency image and we have it skin texture, other ones as a high frequency. Again, as a high frequency and low frequency, it's refer to this contrast area changing between elements. So on the pixel level, you can see it change quite a bit fast, and this one change not as fast. So right here we have it our image, and let's call this image low frequency. And we'll go ahead and create it, duplicate it. And this will be high frequency. Okay, so you'll notice on a low frequency what we want to do, it is blur out. So we want to remove some of these details before we process. We have several options we can do. We can go inside the blur and we can use Gaussian blur. However, if we're using Gaussian blur, let's look on this. You'll notice right here edges become quite a bit blur and they will bleed out. I don't necessarily want to do this. I want to preserve some of those edges. To do this, we'll go use surface blur. You notice with the surface blur, we kind of start preserving some of those edges on the side. So how to select what amount of the radius of blur you needed? And it's easy, kind of if you refer to this image right here, you can see how much you want to preserve based on the skin. So for example, maybe these details is big enough. On this case, you can keep it, or you can actually increase and decrease amount of details. Remember, those details won't be disappear. We retrieve this in our high frequency, but we can determine how much details we wanted. So right here, and normally when I work, I like to keep it my radius just a little bit above the threshold. So we can go around the look on the hands and other areas, and seems like a skin right in this area. It's nice. It does not have those skin details, so it will look good. But at the same time, it allowed us to repair some effect. So like, for example, right here, I can see a little bit discoloration, which we're going to fix in low frequency, but at the same time, we'll preserve the skin textures in a high frequency. So when we select, let's go press OK. And this time it's taken, it will create this low frequency. So next, what I want to do, it's work on a high frequency. So let's go to make it visible, and we'll go to utilize as image apply options for this. So let's go to image, and we go to apply image option. So right here as apply image, we need select first source. Okay, and we're on right Untitled. So let's go select the layer now, and we're going to select the lower layer. So it's right here, it's against what we're doing. So we'll keep it as RGB. And next we want to change blending mode. The blending mode can be different depending on if you're using 8-bit or 16-bit. And for the 8-bit, you're using subtract. For 16, you have it add. Sometimes you may forget which one use it for what, but think about this. The poor 8-bit get poorer, so subtract, and rich, which 16-bit get richer. So another case, we give you this small socialistic kind of refer to the image. So for this 8-bit image, we'll use it subtract. And as we're doing this subtract, we also want to be sure the invert is not enabled. So we want to invert if we're using add for 16-bit. Again, for this subtract for 8-bit, we're using scale 2 and offset 128. For the 16-bit, you'd need to have it offset 0. What does it mean? Because we have it on 8-bit, it's a 256 levels of the gray, and we'll just set offset 2 on the middle and use it 128 each way for the gray scale. Okay, when we're done with this, click OK. So right here, we're creating our high frequency. At this point, if we switch to linear light mode, we'll have exactly the same image as we have before, but right now we're separating on these two frequencies, lower and high frequency. The one thing, understand that even high frequency is look gray, they actually still have a color inside. So if we look, you can see it's still preserve color. It's not a black and white, and it's not dodge and burn. This is actually separation, but because the frequency is so high, we see more as a gray. For the purpose of retouching, I would recommend for you to keep it right now in normal mode, so it will help us to isolate and distinguish a little bit closer. So let's go to disable this high one, and we'll work on a low. So the best way to do it, we'll create another layer. And let's go retouch, and we want to take this layer and clip to the lower layer. So in this case, when we come closer, we can start fixing like a little bit colorizations or some maybe larger type effects if we want to modify. To do this, we actually want to use a mixer brush. And mixer brush tool, it's something combination between smudge tool and brush, so it's work very good this way. I want to be sure my wet set at least 10% or lower, load 25, mix 25 or 23, and flow 25. If you notice, I set everything kind of smooth, so I will have a smooth, nice effect. I also want to be sure the sample or layers is checked in. Let's go right here, and for example, I want to fix it some small right this area, and maybe a little bit retouch right in a larger area. So to do this, I'll hold down Alt key, and I'll just simple color around that area and have it few strokes. You can see we already changed colors. Right here, you can see we remove some of this redness. It's worked very well. If, for example, person have a too much red nose, you kind of touch up, or in some areas, if they have it highlights too high, you can sample areas and fix it some of those highlights or shadows areas as well. So in this case, you can fix it some of those details. So like example, we can go inside here and just take a little bit samples of closest and fix it some of those blemishes. Again, this is a little bit higher, lower frequency, so we don't worry too much. Also, when you retouch, always remember to look on the hands, because in many cases, people will touch up very nice on the face, but hands and other kind of get lost in the process. So right here, for example, I'm fixing. Okay, we'll can fix a little bit right there. Okay, and we can fix it, look on the hands, like right here maybe. So we'll go select color, and we'll just kind of try to fix some of those areas. I don't want to spend all kind of class to see how you can do it. Overall, it's a principles, so you can see we done how you can modify it. Okay, so for example, we're down here. You know what? I don't like this element. So let's go select it, and we can also kind of fix some of these. Okay, right here, maybe leave it. And same, for example, if we have a too bright spot, remember we can take, and we can kind of make it a little bit nicer. Okay, and remove some right around there. Okay, so overall this is techniques. Remember, we're using soft brush, and we want to use it, be sure it's mixer brush tool. We're sampling colors by pressing down and hold Alt key, and our setting is 10, 25, 23, and 25 with sampling all layers. So when we're done with this, we can start working on a high frequency. So the one things when we start working on high frequency, sometimes it's a little bit hard to see. So I like to bring this a little bit out. So for that, we're going to create a curve layer. We'll go switch this curve to the overlay, and we'll just take this point bottom, bring on the middle, and this bring to the top. This is won't be stay there. It's only to help us to see. You can see right now how much we can already pop up, and we can see those kind of things we want to fix it on the skin itself. Okay, let's to fix this. We also want to go ahead, create new layer. We'll go touching for the lowers, and same way we want to clip this to the high. But here's interesting things. If we're using soft brush when we're using for the high, lower frequency, we want to use the hard edge and hard stamp tool for the high frequency. So in this case, I'm going to create stamp tool. I want to be it's hard, and I want to be sure my opacity is 100%. So it's very hard ways. And right here, what are we going to do? We go be sure. We also set current and below layer, because we don't need it. Take our adjustment layer. So we want just current and below. And we'll just sample sampling right here. And we just start stamping. You can see how it's disappearing. Okay, so we can go stamping around, fixing some areas. And again, this is just a technique, so you can see how overall done. You don't want to have strokes, long strokes. What you want, it's like almost sampling and stamping, sampling and stamping. So you want to have this randomness of the skin without visible repetition. Okay, so right here we fix this one. Okay, let's fix it some right here. If you have a hair, we can always go right there and fix it some hair effect. Again, all what I need to work right now is just about this hair right here. Okay, we can go okay, adjusting. Okay, we can also remove, and the same ways you actually can go ahead and remove some wrinkles if you need it, or other effects. Like right here, we can go stamp slightly out this area. Okay, and you can retouch other as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and I want to just touch up a few more things. Okay, remember we have the hands, and as a texture of the hands, we maybe want to touch up some areas. And I think we had problem with one finger. I fix it. Yep, right here. So we go fix this finger. Okay, right there. Okay, and on a balloon, if you remember, we have some of this lighting, and right here you can see PLM very easy. So we're going to kind of remove some of this. Okay, so we'll go right there. Just add. I don't worry too much about this. Anytime if you want to actually change texture, you always can even click on balloon and add texture this way. So that will work as well just fine. This is a nice way if you have it in the reflection somewhere like camera showing or a person who photo shooting, you can remove some of those textures as well. Okay. We'll just leave it this one out. We could actually even take and totally remove if we need it, and we can do probably just as example. The balloon texture. Okay. And right here, I think we have one more. So let's go around. So for the balloon texture, I don't worry too much about lines. It's more worried about skin when I do this. Okay, we can do right here touch-ups. Okay. And again, this is, we don't smooth skin yet. We're just fixing and retouching some of those elements on the skin. Okay, you can look a little bit closer, and you can see you can spend some time to fix this stuff. So when you're done, let's disable this one. We'll enable back, and we'll take switch, remember, to linear light. So right here we have our image. And I'll just drag in other image with before, and we can compare. You can see before and after. So you can see right here, we modified. We still have a little bit hair because if I'm right, it still be right in the low frequency. So we can still take this one. Just let's retouch slightly. This point. So we can kind of paint out almost. Okay. So kind of remove a little bit more, but overall you can see we have it remove. So before and after, like nice skin retouching. Okay, let's look on a balloon. Okay, before and after, we'll just remove some stuff. Or like, for example, finger, same before and after. Again, the best parts, what we just did it right here. Let's look on this area with her nose example. You see how the skin preserved? We just remove some of this. And it's happened because we separated. We preserve our texture in a high frequency, and we preserve some other higher kind of shapes in our low frequency. So in this case, by separation, we can affect it. But here's the things. You not just lock up to 2 frequencies. You actually can have it more than 2. You also can separate on multiple levels based on different frequencies. So example right here, the image of the girl with the freckles, and just if you, for example, want, just remove the freckles but don't touch skin tones or overall shapes. You can separate on the low, middle and high fixes. And here's an example. You can see I can go in the middle and just remove freckles without affecting like even blemishes to special general areas or even hair. So right here you can see. Okay, I don't know why you want to do the freckles is actually benefit for this model. Just as an example, you can see with the separations, and you can have it more than one, so you can separate just the hair or other effect. But this will be for more advanced of tutorials how you can have it multiple levels of the multiple frequency separations. And in the end, I want to just give it a little bit history. If you think this frequency separations, it's new techniques, it's actually quite a bit old. And original was created by the Joseph Ferrer, of course not in Photoshop, but overall theory of the light and frequency separations. He also responsible for the discovering greenhouse effect and other. So overall, it's quite a bit old techniques if you look when he was living, and we'll just all knew it's very well forgotten old. So hopefully you remember and you use these techniques in your next retouching process. And please remember, visit us on the web is www.geekatplay.com, or subscribe on YouTube channel to receive notification when new videos is received.